And then you eventually married Tina, who was extremely light-skinned.
Exactly. So, I began dating either all white or extremely light complexion black women. That was my MO. That was my MO.
Okay. And Tina's Creole, I guess?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
She's Creole, but her family literally, her great-grandparents are white Frenchmen that live right outside of Paris.
Aha. Okay. And then her...
Because Beyonce is her maiden name.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you end up, based on the history and everything you've been taught and so forth, and everything you've been exposed to, you go and consciously or unconsciously marry someone much lighter than yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Did you start thinking about it at that point or not really?
Not really. I mean, when I saw Tina, I met her at a party, and you see somebody at a party and you think they're white, but I consciously thought she was white. I have to say, once I met her, it was very clear that she was a very conscious black woman, and really her blackness was inside and out, and as well as her beauty.
Okay. Then you go and have kids with her.
Mm-hmm.
You go and have Beyonce and Solange.
Yes.
And then Kelly comes in the picture.
She's like a kid to us because she lived with us 10 years old, 11 years old, up until her adulthood.
Okay. What was the story? How did she come into the family?
Well, there was this group called Girls Time that went on to go to Star Search, and they lost. And then I got involved after that. Before that, I wasn't involved. And once we got involved, her mother was a nanny, and they lived in a white home. They actually lived in a white home, 2 doctors. And one day, her mother came home, and they sat her down and told her they were getting a divorce, and that literally they had to move out in 2 weeks. And her mother wasn't prepared for that, and asked if we would keep Kelly because Kelly was really committed to this girl group. And her mother needed to go back to Atlanta to just get herself together. And so we committed to keep Kelly for a month that turned into like 8 years or 10 years or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go and form Destiny's Child.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, there were different members.
Yes.
So originally it was Beyonce, Latavia, and LaToya.
Latavia,
sorry.
and LaToya, yeah.
Yeah.
And Kelly.
And Kelly.
Yeah.
Sorry. The group forms. Why did Latavia and LaToya end up leaving the group?
That's a story I'm not going to tell now. You have to write me a check for that one.
Okay.
Good try, though.
Okay. Well, we interviewed Farrah at one point.
Who? Who?
Farrah.
Who? Who is that?
No idea who that is.
Okay.
Huh? Yeah. Well, she talked about it. This was on, I guess, TRL, and Beyonce was speaking, about the situation. So she says, we have to say that Farrah was not kicked out of Destiny's Child. She actually did not show up for 3 major promotional events. One which was MTV All Access, she walked out on that, and the Cube Summer Jam, another one in Seattle. You'll see all that on the All Access show. We also had a 5-day promotional tour in Australia, which was our first visit there, very important. She didn't come. We all agreed that Farrah and Destiny's Child should part ways. We wish her the best in the future. But it wasn't a management decision, it was a group decision. We all feel that no personal problems that can be resolved are worth disappointing your fans.
Yeah, well, that's not true. I've never missed a show, ever, or I would have got kicked out the group. You know how much I was getting paid to do a show, and that's the best part of my day? I'm not missing any shows. But when I leave the group, they weren't honest with people and say that I left. They were trying to give themselves more time to clear the air or whatever, but I've never missed a show, ever. And like I said, if I would have missed the group, then they would have kicked me out.
Again, we'll talk about that in the next book.
Okay.
And I don't want to give that away today.
Okay, fair enough. So you go and put this group together. You talked about there's a certain level of racism in the radio industry.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You must have read the book. Thank you, because it's been very, very frustrating in interviews that I was misquoted. That so I can tell when someone's read the book because their interview is different. So I thank you for that.
You're welcome. So talk about the racism.
From a music perspective?
Yeah.
Well, I talked about it from several. One was discrimination, and then I'll talk about the racism part. Discrimination was when I got in the music industry in the 90s and I came from corporate America, where we fought discrimination. To go into an industry where you had a black department or urban department, a black music department or urban department was foreign, because I fought so hard at Xerox and to not have that. And so I realized in order to be successful, you have to sell to everyone. You can't segment a marketplace. You can, but if you're going to sell to 40 million people, or if you're going to sell to 340 million people, that's a decision one should make. But that was part of it. And because when I got to Sony as a manager and executive, I was asked to manage an all-girl group that was white, an all-boy group that was white. So I know this for a fact, that their budgets were different, their recording budgets were different, their marketing budgets were different, their advances were different than those in the urban division. And so that was the discriminatory part of the industry that I witnessed. The racist part of the business that still exists today. In some context, I've taught at Texas Southern for 8 years, Texas Southern University in Houston. And I teach entertainment recording management as a degree that you get. So one of my artist management class, I challenged him to do some research about 3 years ago. And the research was to go back 15 years and from a colorism perspective, show me at pop radio the number of black women that were of high complexion and the number of black women that were of dark complexion that got airplay. And again, this is from a research perspective. I've since learned that the common public don't understand the difference of research versus emotional. So the comments I made on the book about racism is really based on factual data. And when you look back at the charts at Top 40 Radio, you'll see that the black women that have been successful with airplay were all of light complexion.
Right, because you had mentioned Mariah Carey, Rihanna,
Nicki
Minaj, and your kids.
and Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys and Beyonce and Solange.
It says others in the book, but
Right. Are all light-skinned, and they all get pushed.
correct. And you being in the music industry, you know
Yeah.
that's valid.
Let me think. Lauryn Hill's fairly dark-skinned.
Yeah, there's exceptions. Yeah,
Yeah, Lauryn Hill.
there's always.
She hasn't been around in a
exceptions.
while.
Yeah.
What are the other exceptions?
Again, we said 15 years, so
Yeah, she was out.
She was excluded.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think. Who are the other?
Yeah, think.
You can't really think of it. You think of any? No. Yeah,
And those of us that understand the industry, and you understand exactly what I'm saying.
I mean, Whitney Houston was fairly light skinned, but this is
Yeah,
again,
Whitney falls again in the light.
In the light skin, yeah.
And I'll
right.
tell you why, because Clive, that was one of his things. He airbrushed and made her photos. Lighting can do a lot also.
Right. Mary J. Blige was fairly brown skinned.
No, yeah, Mary is down. She did one album, remember the one with the butterflies, the video? I can't remember. And it didn't do that well. It didn't get airplay at top 40. This I know for a fact.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really looking through the list here. I mean, Aaliyah, of course, very light skinned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really thought about it before, but
Well, and again, that's part of why I wrote the book Racism from the Eyes of a Child, is to get people thinking and dialogue and conversation.
does this apply to men as well? Because you see dark skinned men.
Our research and focus were on women.
Okay, so you just didn't. Yeah, for example, Kendrick is at the top of the charts these days.
We didn't do men.
Okay.
Men are somewhat exemplified also. When we look at the hip hop rap industry, it becomes. But when you look at the rap industry, who gets more airplay than anybody is who?
White people?
No, Drake.
Drake.
At top 40.
Ah, right. Yeah.
At top 40. Again, I'm talking top 40 radio.
Yeah. Yeah, although Lil Wayne had his run.
Took him a while.
Took him a while.
Took him a while to cross over. It didn't take Drake a while to cross over.
Yep.
Drake almost came out of the box, crossed over.